Assalamu alaikum learners, how are you? I hope you are fine and safe at your homes. I am Rahila, your history and geography teacher. Class 8, unit number 1, it's your 8th lecture. Learners, open your book, page number 8. The topic is administration under the British. Now we start reading. After 1858, India was divided into 11 provinces, which were directly under British rule, with 560 princely states whose Rajas, Maharajas, and Nawabs followed the policies of the British Crown. The British followed the Learners, on this page there is a map in figure 1.6. You can observe the map of British India and the princely states 19s. Now open page number 9. The British followed the administration of the Mughals with centralization at the core and a responsible provincial government. The provinces were divided into many districts with further subdivisions into thanas and tehsils. A number of districts were grouped under a division which was administered by a commissioner. The whole structure was able managed by civil service officers who were selected through a civil service examination instituted mean established in 1853. It encouraged a lot of English talent to come to India to administer it. The army was separate and had its own requirements policies through which the local Indians were barred from holding officer ranks. The penal code left by Lord Macaulay was enforced in 1860. District courts leading up to high courts and finally to the Supreme Court came into existence. Most of the judicial officers were British, but their experience of Indian customs made a whole class of legal middlemen who came into being to advise their local clients in the British system of law. Economically, India came to be tied more securely to British industrial needs and markets, with the British private sectors investing in public works such as the laying of railway tracks and irrigation canals. The expansion of agricultural products under the monopoly of British planters took place. Previously, indigo, opium, salt, and cotton had been the main exports from India, but now tea, coffee, and jute were added. By 1885, a quarter of a million acres were planted with coffee in South India, producing 30 million pounds of coffee beans annually. The next topic is the education system under British rule. By 1835, the pace of change in India quickened, and under the Governor General Lord William Bentinck, momentous decisions were taken which were to alter the course of educating the Indians. Thomas Babington Macaulay had joined the Governor General Council in 1835 as the first law member. His famous Minute on Education put to rest the controversy whether Oriental education in Sanskrit and Persian should be given government support or the promotion of Western learning through the medium of the English language. Lord Macaulay's Minute on Education. John Key, a historian, writes that to someone like Macaulay, who had been schooled on European Enlightenment, India's only hope of advancement lay in the forsaking such nonsense, and he issued a much resented rejection of Indian culture. He insisted that India schools forsake Sanskrit and adopt a Western style curriculum. Learners, on this page there are two pictures in figure 1.7. Brigadier General John Jacob, the founder of Jacobabad in Sindh, and in figure 1.8 you can see the picture of Lord Macaulay 18th to 59. Learners, now turn page number 10. Macaulay's intention was to form a class of persons who may be interprets between us and the millions we govern. A class of person Indian in blood and color, but English in taste, in opinions, in morals, and in intellect. The missionaries had also identified the teaching of the English language and a Western curriculum as essential to their promotion of Christianity. Once the Indians were steeped into the realm of Western thought and the science, Macaulay's object could be achieved. The funds allocated for education by the British government would then be spent on imparting Western learning in the English language to young Indians. Thus, government maintained schools and missionaries grants in aid schools followed a similar curriculum with the exception of Bible teachings, which was only done in schools run by missionaries. The Pathshalas of the Hindus and the madrasas of the Muslims came to be neglected as funding by the Rajas and Nawabs decreased and eventually stopped for these schools. It became far more practical and necessary to gain Western education in English to get jobs in the British administration. The next topic is Wood's Dispatch on Education 1854. Sir Charles Wood's Dispatch of 1854 led to the establishment of a Department of Public Instruction under which degree awarding universities were set up in the presidencies of Madrasa, Bombay and Calcutta on the partner of London University. Later on, other universities were set up on the same lines at the Aligarh, Dhaka and Lucknow in 1920. At Allahabad and Delhi in 1921 and 1922 respectively. The Calcutta University Commission was set up under the Sadler Commission in 1919 and one of its recommendations was that the medium of instruction up to high school level should be in the vernacular local languages and in English at college and university level. The results of the education policy. Lord Macaulay's Minute on Education for India left long-lasting effects on the Indian subcontinent. William Adam reports that before the British colonized India, there were 1 lakh schools in Bengal and Bihar in 1830 and Dr. D. W. Littner's report on 1882 tells us that Punjab and had the same number of schools. Thomas Munro observed that every village in India had a school. The emphasis on Lord Macaulay's reforms took away funding from the Pathshalas and madrasas of the Indian, and when the British left India in 1947, literacy was reduced to just 10% in areas making up Pakistan and 30% in India. Learners now open page number 11. English became a second language for both Indians and Pakistanis. The independent states of India and Pakistan in 1947 made Hindi and Urdu their state languages respectively, and education was organized to suit the needs of the new countries. Communications and economic policy. Lord Dalhousie's modernization plan for India was carried on even more diligently. Diligently means in a careful, through way. After the crown took over in 1858, in order to reduce the army, the lines of communications across India had to be quick and clear. Telegraph lines were laid as they had proved very useful during the War of 1857. Railway tracks grew to 5,000 miles and to nearly 25,000 miles by the end of the 19th century. A whole network of railway now connects all of India. The Grand Trunk Road was expanded up to Peshawar and surfaced with metal. All the raw materials, locomotives, railroads, equipment, and cars were directly imported from Britain. Britain was acquired of a steady market for it. Learners, on this page there is a map you can observe in figure 1.10. A railways map of 1909 note the web of railroad tracks across the subcontinent. Learners, now open page number 12. Manufactured goods in India. Agricultural production was boosted by the construction of irrigation canals in the United Provinces, Punjab and Sindh. There was a marked change in the lifestyles of the rulers and the ruled. Learners, do reading carefully, underline the difficult words, learn vocab and write on loose sheet. Take care. Allah Hafiz.